Welcome to Golf Training Hacks. This is part 3 in our series on how to power your golf swing by tuning up your cross crawl pattern. In this video, you'll test your cross crawl pattern by using techniques that help you evaluate how well you can coordinate the opposite side arms and legs. So let's get started. The first assessment is called the basic stationary crawl. Crawling is a fundamental human movement. Everyone should be able to get down on the floor and crawl. But clearly that's not the case. Especially as we get older, many people have difficulty getting down and up off the floor, or would have difficulty getting down on the floor and even crawling. Chronic illnesses or injury issues make it very difficult for some people to get down and up off the floor or get down on the floor and crawl. So if that's your situation, if you have a chronic illness or an injury that makes getting down and up off the floor a safety risk or a health risk, well, clearly you don't want to do this. But if you're not in that situation, you don't have a chronic illness or an injury that makes getting down and up off the floor difficult and a safety risk, then let's get started with this assessment. The first assessment is the basic stationary crawl. Now, of course, you can crawl for distance, but we're going to do this as a stationary motion. To do the basic crawl, you're going to get on all fours, and you're simply going to make a crawling motion, which is moving the opposite arm and leg. So that's a basic stationary crawl. Now, the key to this is showing control. You don't want it to look like you can't control the movement and you're kind of collapsing into it. You don't want it to look like you can't land your hand, foot, and knee together like this. You don't want to crawl like this. Okay, you want it to be a synchronized movement where your foot, your knee, and your hand are landing together. So that's a basic stationary crawl. You want it to look very smooth, like gravity is not pulling you into the mat. And you want some distance between the two knees and the two hands. So if you just have a little bit, well, then you really can't show that much control. So everything lands together. You can go fast, or you can slow it down and see if you can control this motion. That's your first assessment, a basic stationary crawl. So how did you do? If that was easy, you can move on to the next assessment. But if you had difficulty with that, you don't need to go to the next assessment. You probably will have difficulty with that as well. But what you'll need to do is begin to work on your cross crawl pattern by beginning to build up your ability and your physical capacity to crawl. So in part 4 of this series, we'll show you some techniques that will help you do that. So look for part 4 of this video series. But if that crawling assessment was rather easy, then let's move on to the next assessment. This is the next assessment. In this assessment, you'll be moving from an all-four position on the ground to a lunge position to a step-up position, and with each position, you'll be switching opposite arms and legs. Now, once again, if you have difficulty getting down and up off the floor, you shouldn't be doing this assessment. But if you don't have problems with that, let's get started. This is the second assessment. In this assessment, you'll be moving from that crawling starting position, all fours on the floor, into a half kneeling or a lunge position by moving your opposite arm and leg. So we're going to start like this in that crawling position, and then you're going to move an opposite arm and leg into a lunge position. Move your opposite arm and leg into a lunge. You don't have to do it fast. You just want to be smooth. What you don't want to do is end up in this position where your same side arm and leg are moving together. So you should always be in opposition. Also, to show that you can actually move through these cross crawl patterns effectively and smoothly, when you get here and here, when you come down, if you're not quite sure, which side to go on, you hesitate here and you take a little time, then it shows that you just don't quite have this movement yet. You want to be able to move through this as smoothly as you can. Now, if you have to put your leg down, that's fine. So you can put this leg down and move through it like that. So that's the second assessment to help you with your cross crawl pattern. This is assessment number 3. It's a progression off of the second assessment. It starts the same way. You end up in this half kneeling position or lunge position, but from here, you're going to stand up. Now, the key is your arms and legs are always in opposition. So you don't want to ever end up with the arm and leg on the same side together. So we always want to end up like this. So we're going to start in our crawl position, going to extend, you're going to come to this position, then you're going to stand up out of it. Doesn't have to be fast, just make it smooth. So that's the second assessment. Now, if you don't want to extend your leg back, like this, you can keep it down and then come into that position. You can always do that if you feel like you need to be more stable in this position. So that's another option, but the key is do it smoothly. You shouldn't hesitate in between these movements. So when you come back, when you come from here to here and come up, when you come down, you shouldn't have to try to figure out, like, which way do I go now? Okay, so you want to be able to do it smoothly. You don't have to do it that fast, but just make the transition smooth. It's a great exercise. You can see I'm a little out of breath even with those few reps, and it's a great assessment. So how'd you do on that assessment? That's a little more challenging than just the basic crawl. Now, once again, if you had trouble with that assessment, then you need to take a step back and work on techniques that will help you improve your cross crawl pattern and help you build the strength and coordination that will allow you to do movements like that. So in upcoming videos, we will have techniques that will help you progress your cross crawl pattern. So look for those videos. Now, if that technique was rather easy, let's move on to the next assessment. This is the final assessment. It's the same movement as the assessment we just did. However, this time, in your all-four position, you're going to start with your knees off the ground. So it's going to be more challenging. And once again, as I've said throughout these assessments, if you have problems getting up and down off the floor, if that provides you with a health or safety risk, you shouldn't be doing this. We have to use common sense in all exercises that we do. But if that's not the case, and if the previous assessment went well for you, then let's get started. This next assessment, assessment number 4, is a progression off of the previous assessments. This is going to challenge your strength and stability a little bit more because now you're going to have your knees off the ground. It's the same pattern of movement except now the knees are off the ground. So we're going to start with our crawling position, and the other assessments we had a knee on the ground. Now you're going to raise your knee up, go back, and come into the same position. It's the same thing, only your knees are off the ground. Now that's a great exercise. As you can see, again, I'm a little out of breath just with a couple of reps. It's a great assessment, and it's also a wonderful exercise. And if you're as old as me, I'm 67, and I have twin grandchildren at 18 months, then I have no problem getting down on the floor and chasing them around. And also, if you fall and you're an older person and you have trouble getting up, well, then you might be in some trouble because death rates skyrocket past 65, 70 years old after a fall. So exercises like this, methods like this, these type of techniques are very important for longevity, for your health span, and also so you can get down on the floor and play with your grandkids. This is the last assessment. It's the most challenging of these assessments because now we're going to stand up out of this position like we did with the other assessments, except now your knees are going to be up off the ground. Once again, you don't want to end up like this. You always want to be in opposition in every movement. So we're going to start in our crawl position. Knees up, extend, and then you step up out of it. Extend and step up out of it. Another great exercise. It challenges your stability, it challenges your strength, and your cross crawl pattern. So how'd you do with the last assessment? That one's a little tough, right? But if you've gone through these assessments and they were all relatively easy, then great, you're well on your way to having a tuned up cross crawl pattern, so congratulations. But that doesn't mean you have to stop. You can use those assessments as exercise techniques to help you keep building your cross crawl pattern. It's very important. And by the way, don't think crawling is something that's just too basic for us to do. Crawling is so important. And if you begin to accumulate time on the floor with basic crawls, you'll be surprised at how challenging it can be and how much strength you can build from just using basic crawls and accumulating time under tension with basic crawls. And if you want to make that basic crawl a little harder, then you can elevate your knees, and that makes it even more challenging. So in future videos in this series, we'll provide you with techniques that will help you improve your cross crawl pattern. At Golf Training Hacks, we not only want you to play better golf, but we want you to move better and feel better every day, so you can play the best golf of your life for the rest of your life.